The race session is at Circuit de Barcelona in Montmeló, Spain. The wind speed is 8 km/h from the northeast. Hashtag Fnlangi is P1. The death ray from Australia is second. Steve JR from Australia is third on mediums. Aaron O'Brien from New Zealand is fourth on mediums. Lethal Force from Australia is P5. K. Smith from Singapore is P6. Tabizea from Australia is 7th on softs. Wonky Dingo from Australia is 8th. Evan Christo entering the pits is 18th. Lethal Force entering the pits is 7th. BZR 5150 entering the pits is 14th. 20 minutes remaining in the session. Race start. Hashtag Fnlangi is P1. The death ray is P2. The race session is at Circuit de Barcelona in Montmeló, Spain. The wind speed is 3 km/h from the north-northeast. Hashtag Fnlangi is P1. The death ray from Australia is P2. Steve JR from Australia is third on mediums. Aaron O'Brien from New Zealand is P4 on mediums. Lethal Force from Australia is 5th. K. Smith from Singapore is 6th. Tabizea from Australia is 7th on softs. Wonky Dingo from Australia is 8th. 20 minutes. Race start. Hashtag Fnlangi is P1. The death ray is second. The death ray is now first. Wonky Dingo in Renault is P2. Lethal Force in Renault is P10. The race session is at Circuit de Barcelona in Montmeló, Spain. The wind speed is 3 km/h from the north-northeast. Hashtag Fnlangi is P1. The death ray from Australia is P2. Steve JR from Australia is P3 on mediums. Aaron O'Brien from New Zealand is 4th on mediums. Lethal Force from Australia is P5. K. Smith from Singapore is 6th. Tabizea from Australia is 7th on softs. Wonky Dingo from Australia is 8th. 20 minutes. Race start. Hashtag Fnlangi is first. The death ray is second. BZR 5150 from Australia is Lucky Dingo in Lock 8 Series 10. Lucky Dingo past Champagne for 9. Past Isaiah for 7. Isaiah in Elf is P10, 0.1 ahead of Whipper 1. Isaiah is now P11. Steve Evo JR in Repsol on lap 2 is 4th, 0.3 behind the Death Ray. Huggy 65 entering the pits is P15. Isaiah is P11, 0.3 behind Champagne. Steve Evo JR in Kamsa is 4th on mediums, 0.2 behind the Death Ray. Isaiah is P11, 0.5 behind Champagne. Is P4, 0.2 behind the Death Ray. Aaron O'Brien is 5th. Best lap is a 146.742. 1.315 off the fastest lap. Huggy 65 exiting pits. Is 7, 0.3 behind K. Smith. Isaiah from Australia in Renault is 11 battling Champagne. Champagne was 3.9 faster last lap. Isaiah passed Champagne for 10. The Death Ray is 3rd, 0.3 behind Lethal Force. Is 0.3 behind Steve Evo JR. Lockhexa is P7, 0.1 behind K. Smith. The Death Ray in Evo Car is P3, 0.4 ahead of Steve Evo JR. The Death Ray. The Death Ray in Renault is 3rd, 0.3 ahead of Steve Evo JR. Steve Evo JR in Repsol is 4th. Isaiah from Australia in Repsol is 12, 0.4 behind Evan Christo. Evan Christo was 10.4 faster last lap. Isaiah passed Evan Christo for P11. The death ray in La Caixa is P3, 0.3 behind Lethal Force. Steve J. 0.3 behind the death ray. Aaron O'Brien from New Zealand is P5, 0.4 behind Steve Jr. Steve Jr. in Elf is P3, 0.2 behind Lethal Force. The death ray is 4th, 0.2 behind Steve Jr. Aaron O'Brien in C on lap 5 is P5, 0.4 behind the death ray. Steve Jr. is P3, 0.4 behind Lethal Force. The death ray in La Caixa is 4th, 0.4 behind Steve Jr. Isaiah on lap 5 is 12, 0.3 behind Evan Christo. Evan Christo was 1.8 faster last lap. Steve Jr. is P3, 0.3 behind Lethal Force. Driving a BMW, 0.4 behind Steve Jr. Steve Jr. is 3rd, 0.3 behind Lethal Force. The death ray in C is 4th, 0.2 behind Steve Jr. Whitmer 1 is P9, 0.4 behind Monkey Dingo. Twisted Vine exiting pits on softs. Steve Jr. is 3rd, 0.4 behind Lethal Force. The death ray from Australia is P4, 0.4 behind Steve Jr. Steve Jr. was 0.6 faster last lap. BZR 51 Holland is P7, 0.4 behind K. Smith. Lethal Force in Elf is 3rd, 0.2 ahead of Steve Jr. Lethal Force is now 2nd. Jr. is P3. Best lap is a 146.413. 0.986 off the fastest lap. Repsol is P7, 0.4 behind K Smith. Steve Evo JR is P3, 0.2 behind Lethal Force. K Smith from Singapore is 0.3 behind the Death Ray. The Death Ray was 0.6 faster last lap. Twisted Vine entering the pits is P15. K Smith passed the Death Ray for 5th. The Death Ray in Bank Sabadell is 6th, 0.3 behind K Smith. BZR 5150 in New Holland is 7th on mediums, 0.3 behind the Death Ray. Steve Evo JR from Australia in Elf is 3rd, 0.3 behind Lethal Force. K Smith in Renault on lap 8 is 6th, 0.3 ahead of BZR 5150. Steve Evo JR in seat on lap 8 is P3, 0.4 behind Lethal Force. Aaron O'Brien is P4, 1.1 behind Steve Evo JR. Aaron O'Brien was 0.5 faster last lap. Steve Evo JR in Bank Sabadell is P3, 0.3 behind Lethal Force. Isaiah is P11, 0.7 behind Wonky Dingo. Steve Evo JR in Elf is P3, 0.4 behind Lethal Force. Remaining in the session. Aaron O'Brien from New Zealand is P4, 1.1 behind Steve Evo JR. Steve Evo JR is 3rd, 0.2 behind Lethal Force. Entering the pits is P13. Lethal Force from Australia is 3rd, 0.4 behind Steve Evo JR. Aaron O'Brien from New Zealand is P4, 0.7 behind Lethal Force. Twisted Vine exiting pits on mediums. Evan Crisco exiting pits on softs. Lethal Force in Elf is 3rd, 0.6 ahead of Aaron O'Brien. 145 behind lethal force. Lethal force is third. Best lap is a 145.982. 0.609 off the fastest lap. Wonky Dingo is P10 battling to Isaiah. Wonky Dingo was 9.6 faster last lap. Aaron O'Brien in Eurocar is P4 driving Audi, 1.0 behind lethal force. Aaron O'Brien was 1.0 faster last lap. BZR 5150 in Elf is P6, 1.5 behind the Death Ray. Aaron O'Brien in Repsol is 4th, 0.9 behind lethal force. BZR 5150 is 7th, 0.9 behind K. Smith. BZR 5150 was 2.1 faster last lap. BZR 5150 passed K. Smith for 6th. Aaron O'Brien 0.6 behind lethal force. The Death Ray is 5th, 0.8 behind Aaron O'Brien. Aaron O'Brien is driving Audi, 0.2 behind lethal force. Death Ray in Repsol is P5, 0.4 behind Aaron O'Brien. Aaron O'Brien is 4th, 0.2 ahead of the Death Ray. The Death Ray was 0.8 faster last lap. Is P5, 0.1 behind Aaron O'Brien. Aaron O'Brien in Elf is 4th, 0.5 behind Lethal Force. Lethal Force is P3, 0.4 ahead of Aaron O'Brien. Twisted Vine exiting pits on mediums. Aaron O'Brien in Campsa is P4, 0.7 behind Lethal Force. The leader has just finished the race. Hashtag Thlongi from Australia finished first. Steve JR finished second. Aaron O'Brien finished third. The Death Ray finished fourth. BZR 5150 finished fifth. K. Smith finished P6. Lethal Force finished P7. Specky K finished 12th. Whitmer 1 finished P8. Evan Christo finished 13th. Huggy 65 from Australia finished 14th. Champagne finished 9th.